Hello there and welcome to the latest episode of Meet the Managers with Nestegg. My name's David and it's great to have you with us. I'm joined today with John Baini, and John Baini is the CEO and co-founder of TruePillars. John, it's great to have you with us at the show today.
Thank you, great to be here.
This is a real conversation we were just talking about a minute ago off air, but a real conversation what we're discussing at the moment is investors seeking yield, and I think with, as we said, lower interest rates, people hunting for new alternative types of investing, which obviously give them income or some level of investment towards their assets. Peer-to-peer, can you give us a bit of an insight as to really what that sort of broad word means to investors and how that works essentially with TruePillars?
Yeah, so a peer-to-peer platform like us plays a role simply of connecting people who are happy to lend money, so in this context investors, with parties that are happy to borrow money. So with TruePillars, we're unique in that our borrowers are all Australian businesses. So there's a bit of a community feel to what we do. All the money that we lend out goes to growing and supporting businesses in the country. In terms of a yield option, we're living in a very interesting time where putting money in the bank is not returning what it used to. All investors are therefore having to take more risk to get higher yields, and usually those risks come with some volatility of the capital. So peer-to-peer lending is an interesting alternative within that mix.
I think there's been a real rise of that interest towards this asset or this type of investment, and I think it's mainly got something to do with the whole be your own independent investor, or the DIY investors and that kind of asset, that kind of idea of how they work. But have you seen that conversation happen into your business's model as well, and how does that transition into your sort of offerings that you have there at TruePillars as well?
Yeah, definitely. And with our model, right from the start, we wanted to set up so that investors had a strong degree of choice on our platform. So where we differ in a big way to most funds is that every loan on our platform is offered individually, as opposed to investors being asked to contribute into a single pool and getting a share of one outcome. Investors coming into our fund can choose to have exposure to the portfolio of loans that they want to. So straight from the start, we're saying that if you want to be more conservative, there is a way that you can take exposure to our lower risk loans only, and you can also go balanced or higher risk. So we do it by fractionalising each loan. Each loan's presented into the marketplace in units of $50. And so investors can come in and subscribe to that offer in a smaller amount as $50 per loan they want to have exposure to. So there's definitely that opportunity to get control and construct. Equally, we understand that a lot of investors are time poor, so there are some tools such as our automated investment tool where an investor can come in one time, set up the instructions of the type of portfolio they're trying to create, and then the platform will get to work and build it for them.
And I think there's the construction of how it works as well. We're talking about essentially business loans, but this is real Australian businesses. These are people you might even sit and have a coffee with in a shop or something like that. And is that directly where the investors really having more of their exposure to? Is it those sort of businesses such as those ones, or is it generic kind of large, more commercial businesses? How does that break down, and how do you select and choose those businesses as well?
Really by virtue of the size of loans we do, by definition we are in the small to medium sized business space, so you won't see large corporates borrowing on our platform. The owners of those businesses are, to use the cliche, mostly mum and dads. Most of our businesses support household and families. They're usually one family owned or maybe two families coming together. Absolutely, there's a big element of investors wanting to connect in some way with the business. We've got a lot of investors who take the time to write into us and say that they either used to be a business owner before they retired, or at some point they were employed by a small business, and that really is an additional driver for them to come on the platform and support Australian businesses. We do share a bit of the story about each business. We keep their identity anonymous to try and encourage them to be transparent with info, but with every loan that's put in the marketplace, there is a story about what it's for, what the business does, and definitely that opportunity for investors to get behind the types of businesses that they identify with.
It's good. I like the fact that you have the anonymity there, and I think that's important. Obviously, if they're not a public business, but they want to have exposure and work with private or public investors, it's very interesting to have that transition between the two. It's not something which I've personally seen too often in the market itself. But I think it really does come back to the fact where investors are investing with their hearts and minds, as well as their sort of thoughts about how they want to have a yield or a return. But I think that emotional side of investing and that psychological factor of it is really important for an investor. You don't just invest into something just because you think it's going to be a good idea. You do it because you believe in it, I would hope anyway. But it's an interesting way that does that sort of marry up with the conversations you have with investors as well?
Without a doubt, and definitely with recent massive events such as the Royal Commission into banking, investors now want to know a lot more than how much their investment's returning. And this is something that when we set up 4 years ago that we felt was very important, that the ethics of what people are investing in and the use of what their money goes towards is increasingly important. That's from everyone from a big superannuation fund through to an individual investor. More and more and more want to understand how their dollars are being put to work. And we try and do that as far as we can. So although we're protecting the anonymity of the business, we definitely talk about what they do, what the money's for. We've always had a very strong community feel. We do regard all the investors on the platform as part of a community that's getting there and getting behind businesses where they are finding it hard to get access to finance, not because they're bad credits or bad businesses. Unfortunately for them, from a major bank point of view, they're a little bit too small to be exciting economically. And so their experiences with banks can be quite unfulfilling. They either get an answer of no, because you're not profitable enough to us, or they're waiting months and months to get an answer. And that's really tough for a small business, because opportunities, when they come to grow and progress, need to be seized upon quickly. So thanks to our investors, we're able to do that and get finance to these businesses and help them grow. And I've got no doubt that our investors get a great amount of joy from not only the return they're getting financially, but being part of a business's success. And we get that feedback every week.
I think just to see a business that you really believe in thrive and to have that backing is very important. And it's amazing as well that I can understand just from the way that you're talking about the whole setup and the model is that you have a good relationship with the businesses and the investors. That's very much in tandem with the whole idea or that whole process. It sounds like you can, in some areas, you could always get a bit mixed up or not always clear about how things work on one side of the business towards the investor. But it sounds like there's a real direct correlation there, obviously provided for you on your platform.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we can't have one without the other. and for a platform like ours, both those constituents, while they're arguably not related, they both got a need, and by us joining them together, they can help. And our investors are great. They email in or call in all the time with suggestions on how to make the platform better. We've even got investors who have asked if a business can identify itself, because they'd actually like to go and buy some goods or services from them.
Interesting.
And I've never had a business say no, so that the anonymity point is only as far as they want it. Most businesses are very happy for investors to know who they are, and there's definitely connections happening away from the platform, and in future we hope to actually formalise that in some way, and where businesses do want to identify themselves, there'll be an opportunity for the investors who've funded loans for them to actually go and engage and buy products and services, and that really will be a realisation of the big vision of this platform. Which
and it really comes full circle, which is amazing to sort of see that. I think, and I mentioned that you mentioned this very much earlier, but for a community to get involved, it's kind of, is it online, is it an app, or is it a website? How does that sort of work at this stage?
Yeah, so it all happens through our website, TruePillars.com. So when I say community, we are talking about the whole country. We have investors in every state and territory, and we've got borrowers in every state and territory. But that's the beauty of our technology, that a borrower can come and apply to us no matter where they are in the country. we can approve them and get them into the marketplace quickly, and then they've opened up the opportunity for investors all around the country to get behind and fund loans. So the efficiency is definitely through the platform, but as it happens, there's been plenty of instances where an investor could almost guess who the business is because they realise that they're actually located just around the corner from where they are. And, it's really great to see.
No, that's really good. That's awesome. And I think just to really sort of give a bit of a sort of, unfortunately we have run out of time, but to give you a bit of an insight or outlook essentially. And I know that there's obviously a key definition of TruePillars and you have your own unique points of what you're doing. As an outlook or in the future, what is the sort of real sort of thing that you want to achieve or how you can achieve that with the existing community going forward?
Yeah, I think it's really for investors just to become a credible yield fixed income investment that does get recognised up there with blue chip stocks that pay dividends, for example. So blue chip stocks are very volatile in their underlying value, so there's a lot of capital risk. We think that loans are not like that, and actually the distributions of income with loans on our platform are monthly, and if you're exposed to enough loans, you can actually have income coming in every day with a fairly predictable underlying volatility. So we're still new, we're nowhere near the scale. We've got liquidity as well. We've got a secondary marketplace where investors have gone in and invested, say for 3 or 4 years, are able to relist and get out early if they need to. So we're trying to give the same option to liquidators, the stock market. So we really want investors to come and acknowledge that an allocation to our platform and peer-to-peer in general is a thing that's worth doing within a balanced investment portfolio.
Absolutely, and it's all about that way to diversify into other assets or other alternatives at least anyway, which is very good. So that's good to hear. John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming in today and giving us a bit of an insight into the business.
No, thanks for having me, really appreciate it.
And if you want to follow more from John and the team over at TruePillars, you can click on the links below and become part of that community. You can always get in touch with us as well directly at Nestegg over on our socials such as at LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. And of course, you can always get in touch with us directly at editor@nestegg.com.au. Until next time, I'll see you then.